to come out and vote tomorrow. And please do remember number 84. Thurman Copeland, number 84. Remember, tomorrow is an election day. Remember, tomorrow is an election day. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his life that we may have a right to vote. Please do remember to come out and exercise that right tomorrow. And when exercising that right, please do remember number 84. Please do remember number 84. Thurman Copeland, number 84. Remember, tomorrow is an election day. Remember, tomorrow is an election day. Please do remember to come out to vote tomorrow. And remember, number 84.
So skippy on this. They tell me send us a stack of signs. Tell God you're the best and give us a I mean, we need a whole box.
We need as many as we can get.
Well, Edwards.
We don't have, wait, Edwards might be down here.
Well, where's Lloyd?
Here we go. I'm gonna put Edwards on.
Where's Lloyd? Lloyd, there it is! Hey!
Going to the warehouse, like you sent
I
it.
hope you bring some Edwards too. I need more.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know what size.
You see, but the Scotch tape would,
What, take the paint off?
high. Yeah. It would take the paint off.
No, this is what I used the last time. Not this.
Oh, really?
No,
WW. Y'all don't have any posters?
We got some now about the shop.
I'm gonna put this one over here.
Higher sold ticket.
Well, so usually put out a ballot, and they on the ballot they're endorsing Governor Edwards, Edwin Lombard, William Gus, you know, and several other folks like Doug Green, Buddy Leach, and that means to vote their whole sold ticket, the people who they endorse.
They give out cards with everybody's listed names and numbers.
They usually do a mail out, just like all the other organizations.
What does SOL stand for?
Huh?
SOL, does it stand for anything?
Southern
Organization Unified Leadership.
Anything else?
And it's a sold ticket that mail the ballot home, and you can put it in your pocketbook and take it into the voting poll. That's legal.
Okay.
The entire sold ticket.
Has SOL always endorsed Governor Edwards when he's running the path? You remember?
Yeah, y'all been taking them, but not just the MC.
Yeah, we taped them yesterday, and they were last week.
Out last shed, right.
Last week they were in the program.
Oh,
So we got them both times.
They were good.
That's a great route, right?
Yeah.
So you have them on tape?
Linda, you have the tape?
official. Just tell us who you are and what you're running for.
I'm Ed Lombard. I'm clerk of court now in New Orleans, and I'm a candidate for Secretary of State.
For the entire state of Louisiana.
And running statewide.
Okay, I see that you've been endorsed by Seoul.
Yes.
Why are endorsements like that important?
Well, it's very important, particularly candidates like myself who really don't have the necessary financing to go on TV, on major television, and radio, and in newspapers. This kind of ballot is very important because it reaches all of the voters in the city of New Orleans.
How does an endorsement work?
Well, it works because it alerts people that you are a candidate and that the Soul is supporting you, and they have a history in the community of supporting the right candidates and the candidates that are responsive to the needs of people.
What are the mechanics? I mean, how do people find out that, for example, Soul's endorsed?
Two ways. Two or three ways. One, they'll probably have a mailed ballot in their homes. They'll probably have a handout ballot. And in addition to that, Soul has some phone banks. They're calling around and getting people interested in the election, let them know who the candidates are and who's Soul supporting.
Are there a lot of organizations like Soul throughout the state?
Yes, they are. Not as big as Soul, not as effective as Soul, but there are several large organizations throughout the state like them. Soul set the stage for this. I was original member of Soul back in the days when we started. We started back in an election for Niels Douglas. I think I was about 17, 18 years old at the time. And we went out to try to get him elected to the House of Representatives. And out of that election came the organization Soul.
Do you think that in the black community, either in New Orleans or statewide, there's a higher interest in electoral politics than there are in other parts of the country?
Yeah, I think that in Louisiana, I think Mardi Gras and elections run hand in hand as the #1 pastime. We have a lot of elections in Louisiana. There's a lot of interest in Louisiana in elections, and I think it ranks high up there, more so than other states. I think that you have more people, organizations involved in Louisiana than you'd find in, say, Mississippi or Texas.
Do you have any idea why that might be?
Well, I just think it's the nature of how we got started into it. For so long, blacks were excluded from the electoral process. We could never elect a representative in the multi-districts that we used to have prior to single-member districts. And once we realized the advantage of our voting strength, I think that people got with it and really got involved in interest. They've been able to see changes that have been made when they've elected the people that they know and from their neighborhoods.
Louisiana seems to have a tradition of colorful, flamboyant, sometimes populist politicians who in the past, of course, have been white. Do you think that there are new politicians coming up who are black who sort of fall in the same mold?
Well, I've been accused of a little of that. We're trying to have people catch the spirit now around the state. Yeah, we're trying to do a new kind of political thing in Louisiana. That means that we're not going to be involved in the kind of traditional politics of spending a lot of money and stuff like that. So I've had to do a lot of Huey Long type stump speaking around the state. We've done some 14,000 miles in a truck. That's unheard of, running a statewide campaign in the truck. But for the last 89 days, we've just about covered every part of the state, and we've done it by driving, and that's unheard of, and people are saying we're insane, but tomorrow will tell how effective we've been campaigning like that.
You on a Soul ticket, and at the top of the ticket, of course, is Governor Edwards.
Yes.
Do you think that he influences the style of politics in Louisiana right now?
Well, we've had that long tradition of that kind of politician, that kind of guy who can appeal to mass support and to who charismatic leaders in Louisiana. And those that are not charismatic don't last long. We only have them in for one term or less. You've got to have that kind of pizzazz, people like that.
Edwin Edwards seems to have very strong support in the black community. Why do you think that is?
Because the blacks identify with Edwards and Edwards identify with blacks, and somehow that's translated to the voters, and voters feel very comfortable with Edwin Edwards because they know him, black voters in particular.
What has he done for them?
Well, he's at least he's done a lot in terms of keeping the charity hospitals open and the schools open, and the black kind of issues are things that are important in the black community. Edwards is out front with it. I mean, there's nothing underhanded or nothing that he puts you around the back door. He does it, and he says he's going to do it, and he do it, and anybody wants to get mad, they just get mad.
Do you think that he gets a lot of flack, I know, certainly in places like northern Louisiana, for his lifestyle, because high rolling sort of thing. Do you think that makes a difference in the black community?
Doesn't make a bit of difference in the black community. As a lot of people say, we forgive more quickly, in that when we have our friends, we stick with our friends. And that's just been the nature of the black community, be it Edwards or whoever. Dutch Moriarty, we stuck with Dutch Moriarty through thick and thin and things like that. So I've been fortunate to have the black community stick with me through the years, but people understand if you pay some kind of dues to the black community or to any community, the Irish stick with the Irish and the Italians with the Italians. It's just a matter of people identifying with their leaders, and Edwards has been able to identify closely with the black vote, and blacks just regard him as one of their own.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Well, thanks a lot.
Good luck.
Good.
Really a politician, but I was a civic leader, PTA leader, and civil rights leader. And I was in many of the marches with Reverend L. Davis, Reverend Alexander, and all the ministers groups. I was a member of the Consumers League of Greater New Orleans. And we picketed up and down Dryad Street, Melpomene, and all those shopping centers where black people patronized the stores but wasn't given consideration.
So you do a lot of activity now in supporting candidates and things?
I'm supporting the soul ticket, the entire soul ticket.
Why is that?
What is it?
Why are you supporting the entire soul ticket?
Because for the first time, I feel that they have a real good ticket, and we want to re-elect Mr. Sherman Copeland. We want to re-elect Mr. Lombard.
How about Governor Edwards? How do you feel about him?
Governor Edwards too. Yeah, that's the entire soul ticket. Yeah.
You think he's been a good governor?
I think he has. I don't know too much about the Longs, but he's the best thing that came on the scenes in later years. But I remember about the Longs.
What do you remember about the Longs?
Every man's a king, but none wears a crown.
Well, do you think?
I remember that when Huey Long was assassinated. I remember Earl Long being a very active politician all over the state of Louisiana.
Do you think the Longs were good for blacks in Louisiana?
Not really. In those days, they couldn't do all what they maybe wanted to have done because the blacks didn't vote at that time. We just began to vote in recent years. For instance, I was registered in 1947 at the Sule building. That's where the voter registration office is. And at that time, I had been to the voter registration office about 10 times before I could get registered. Now the application for voter registration was loaded with gimmicks, and that man behind the registrar of voters could find somewhere on that card to turn you down if he wanted to. And when one of us got through, it was a blessing, I would say. Yeah.
So when did that change? When did blacks be able to register without those kinds of problems?
After the Voting Rights Bill was passed, then changes began to come about.
So who's the first man you voted for governor in Louisiana?
For governor, I'm quite sure it must have been Earl Long. the first time I voted for a man for governor. Voting for McKithen. McKithen, he ran for governor.
Why did you like those people?
The lesser of the evils. Yeah, that was the lesser of the evils. And in other words, we didn't have too much choice in those days. But now, things is much different and much better. But I think now we're not so much in political slavery like we are in economic slavery. Something has to be done about the economy of the state of Louisiana and the country as a whole to make things better.
Number 84, Sherman Copeland. Please vote the entire sold ticket. Number 84, Sherman Copeland.
Y'all stand over here, please. Everybody else. When I call your names, this is van number 1 on this side, this is van number 2, and the other is van number 3. When I call you, you go to van number 1. Keyshawn Minor and Nadine Joseph, van number 1. Sit towards the front. Version 1, Russia Blair. Hold on a minute. Wait. You gotta mix up. Hold on. Keyshawn, tell her to come back. I mean, no problem. Joyce Lucas and Flora Smith, Jordan and Desalon. Get on van number 1 towards the front. Van number 1, Alvin Lucas and Shauna Howard. Van number 1 towards the front. That's Tennessee and Renee. Kevin Howard and Edward Collins, Small Silent is on it. Van number 1. Egan and Andrew. Danielle Morgan. Okay, Danielle Morgan, Egania and Andrea, I have another person I have to put with you. Floyd and Catherine, Pamela Celsius and Harold Winters. Where that at? Floyd and Catherine, just get on the van. I'll tell you after. Van number 1. LaMancha Charbonnet, Keisha Celsius, and Andrew Baker. Van number 1. Okay, I have Eganian and Andrew. Okay, van number 2. Lorraine Grant, Hatton, Monticello, Winthrop, and Rufinag, and Brian Grant. Towards the front. Van number 2. Charlotte, William, he is taking the counts. He has in the computer every precinct is 4% black and above. And every hour on hour we get the counts tabulated, see what the voter turnout is, and we know how to direct the troops in the field and how we direct the phone banks, telephonic phones, and the rest of the operations. What is the basic purpose of this system? Get out the vote. This is the United Phone Bank. We are targeting the polling precincts that we targeted for this particular election for various spots. And we'll be running from 8 to 8. They call in all voters that have been ID'd as persons who are going to support the candidates that we're representing. They have been pre-identified through weeks of calling, through polling, through IDs, and we know who's doing what. Do you know where some of the voters? Yes, we do. We have a system where we check off everybody who's voted, and that information is fed back into the system. And we come out with what we call exception reports. Those people who have voted become in one column, those who haven't, an exception. That's the ones who direct the phone banks and the telephonic phones and the thousands of people who have in the street to direct them. This is a computer phone bank. And we can make about 100,000 calls in 10 days. We have it set up by precinct, so we can send different messages to different precincts, so we can do a generic message throughout the city. Can you give me an example of what a message would say? What kind of information? Depends on the client. Depends on what the issues are. We could have, let me give you an example. 4 years ago, we anticipated rain, so we had pre-cut tapes by Edwin Edwards, who was then the governor, saying, "It's raining, please bring your umbrella, please go out and vote, don't let the rain keep you in." You might have a tape that you run at 7 o'clock, 1 hour left to vote, please go vote. I'm trying to make it as personalized as possible, as best you can with that type of equipment, because it's not personal at all. You have to identify and direct and tell them that, in fact, this is a machine calling you. They can have two-way conversation, but, some people like it, some people don't. That's why we have both the manual and the computer phones, because they're not a substitute for each other. How many people do you have working on this live phone banks? In this setup, we have 20. How many clients do you have in this election? About a half dozen. From certain offices? I'm governor's office, insurance commissioner, house races, attorney general, across the board. What makes it special? What makes the system special? It works. We've developed a system over a period of some 6 to 8 years that's been tested and proven to work. Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And when you open the ballot boxes and the client wins, or even if the client doesn't win, the final result is accomplished.
Are there a lot of setups like this in Louisiana, or do you have the only one?
Very similar setups. I think I have the only, what I call a one-stop shop, full operation, everything from the room to the tomb. Walk in the door, everything from design to print to implement to farm by the whole 9 yards.
Final point, prospective client, commissioner, insurance, I want you to work for me. How much is it?
Depends on what you want me to do. It's pretty much determined by whatever service the client wants. It's, standard rates. And you decide as a client what you need. Now, if I think you're asking for something that's going to not get the job done, and I professionally tell you that. And if I decide to do it, and you understand the limitations, and I don't want to accept the responsibility for the end result. In some cases, I might not take it. Might say, it just won't work. I want my reputation online.
Is that ever getting top of the line service?
And was always gets my top of the line service.
And what does that entail?
Amazing. It entails going in ID and the votes. It entails telephonic messages. It entails exit polling as we're doing today. We're doing exit polls all day long. Get the feel for what the voters are doing. We're getting counts in every precinct, 40% black and above, as I said earlier. We're just tracking it. We know what voters are potentially going to vote for anyone happens, and we want to make sure they come out and vote.
We saw kids on Capitol Avenue are getting organized.
They are part of that unit that actually goes and knock on the door, remind the person to vote, and put the literature in their hand, and encourage them to get out and vote if they haven't voted yet.
Is this going on in other states instead of Louisiana? This kind of intense activity?
Well, I've been invited to have campaigns in other states, some in New York, one in Baltimore, and a couple other states. I really haven't gone to any other states. I stay busy enough right here.
Do you think Louisiana politics is different?
I think Louisiana politics is probably more advanced and more sophisticated in most states.
Does it take more money to run it here, just to keep things going?
I don't know if it takes more money or if the money is spent differently. Most people now rely on a lot of television, and that costs a fortune, and print media, and that costs a fortune, and radio, that costs a little money. It depends on how one spends the money. Louisiana may be different to the extent that in Louisiana, we're more oriented toward the neighborhood. The neighborhoods have special problems, and you have to sort of speak to the problems of a given area rather than simply giving out some generic message.
You said Edward Edwards always gets your top of the line service. You and Edwards are back a long way?
We're back a long way, and I think he's an excellent governor, and I think that he's done a good job for Louisiana, even though he's gotten some negative press. That's simply because he doesn't represent the views and philosophy of the people around him. But I think he's done a good job. I like working for clients that I like.
Why do you think blacks are supporting Edwards?
I think the record speaks for itself. He's been very supportive and committed to the...
couple of quick questions. Just ask a couple of questions again, okay?
Okay, sorry.
We had a little audio problem. I'm going to have to ask a couple of questions again if that's okay.
Okay, just briefly, what do you have going on in this setup, in this office?
I have everything going. I call it a one-stop shop, marketing for politics. You can come in and we can start beginning to design a campaign, printing the literature, distribution of literature, exit polls, polling, phone banking, telephonic phone banking, format canvassing, everything it takes to educate, get the message to the voter that you're the person that should be supported and deserve their vote on election day.
You said Edward Edwards Does he get your top-of-the-line services?
Edwin always gets my top line service. I think Edwin has been a good governor. He represents the interests of the constituents that I represent. I think he's been a great governor, even though he's been criticized by the print media, who's owned by people whose views he doesn't necessarily espouse to and represent.
You yourself seem to be, you have a reputation as a consummate politician. Do you see yourself in the Louisiana tradition of consummate politician?
Well, I don't know if I'm a consummate politician. I enjoy it. I'm an elected official. I enjoy working with people, and now I have a company that has been quite successful in handling campaigns.
Can you share us the machines again?
Sure.
Okay, what do we got here now?
These are the computerized telephones. We have them programmed by wards and precincts. We can make approximately 100,000 calls in 10 days. We can send different messages to different parts of the city. And we realize that it's a mechanical device and turns some people on, it turns some people off, and it does serve a purpose in the whole scheme of things, and that's why we still have the manual phone back.
In this election, how many clients do you have?
Roughly a half a dozen, give a little, maybe a little more, I'm not sure.
Can I ask you how much Edwin Edwards is paying for your services in this election?
Sure, you can ask, but the truth of the matter is I don't know. I manage and I let my accountants and controllers keep up with the money. As long as I'm not losing, I'm happy.
You have a vague estimate? Just so people, it's for people in other states, having a sense of how much it costs to put out this kind of an effort.
No, I don't like making vague estimates, and I'm not trying to be evasive.
Okay.
I don't worry about the money, as long as I'm not losing it.
Okay.
You got it?
There you go. Okay. Tell me who you're shooting so I can get the
Coordinated the phone, man.
Polls, and then we'll be doing the polls up until about 6 o'clock.
All right, we weren't ready for that. Just start all over.
Okay. We have people in the field right now. They have been out since 8 o'clock, and they're conducting exit polls. Every hour or hour and a half, we are getting returns back in. But Sean puts them in the computer, and we will know the outcome for Representative Copeland's race prior to 8 o'clock. By 3 o'clock, we should have a trend in terms of who is in the lead, not only with his race, but the governor's race, Secretary of State, Insurance Commissioner.
Why is that important to know?
Well, in a case like this, we would like to know where to target our phone calls, our phone banks, where to target our street efforts. And in areas where he may be weak at, we would like to get more voters out. In areas where he is strong at, right now, we really need to pull off some people and put them on some other activities, or maybe put them on another race. But at this point, it gives us a trend, and we can determine accurately where to target our efforts.
How many clients are you handling in this election?
About 6, citywide.
What kind of, we're handling 6 candidates, and tell us what the campaign.
Okay, well, we have state representatives, race Uptown, 86, Irma Mills-Dixon. We have this one with Sherman Copeland. We were looking at another one in Metairie, and we one out of town right now in Miami, Florida, a gentleman running for mayor, and there's another statewide race we're looking at for insurance commissioner. So we, all together is 6 right now.
Including Governor, right?
Including Governor Edwards, and he is on this particular survey too. In the runoff, we anticipate probably the same number due to the fact that most of our clients at this point, they did have more than one challenger in a particular race. So usually if that's the case, we don't anticipate a runoff with Sherman, but some of the other races we do anticipate runoffs.
Okay, give me an example. Let's say I'm a voter who lives in one of your targeted areas. Okay. I haven't.
Out here.
The light's better out here. Okay. Okay. let's say, I don't know, what's target area, Central City? Are you
Well, in this particular, right, Central City.
okay. Let's say I haven't voted yet.
Okay, if you have not voted yet, what we do, the phone automatic dialers will call you. Then we also have personal interviewers calling you, asking you to vote. Follow up with a walk card, whereby we still haven't noticed that person voting by at least 5 o'clock. We will ask them if they need a ride or some assistance in getting to the poll. And all of that is meant just to get the vote out. And that's one of the major reasons why organizations are so important sometimes in getting that street vote out on election day.
Are there a lot of organizations?
There are quite a few, but not all of them have the infrastructure really to deliver the vote.
So you say there are quite a few organizations?
Right, there are quite a few organizations, but not all of them have the infrastructure to deliver the votes. In order to have an effective organization, you really need people to organize the street workers, you need people to do canvassing, you need people just to provide assistance on getting other people and voters to the poll, you need people to make calls. It's a massive organization, but there are several organizations, but very few can really do it right.
Is this something that's basically only in the black community?
No, in the white community also. We are very familiar with it in the black community because they are very visible in the small numbers. But in the white community, the organizations are just as prominent, but we are not as, we do not know about them as visibly as we know about the black ones.
So if I'm a candidate and I have, let's say, $100,000 to spend on a campaign in the last week, and I want to reach whites and blacks equally, do I have to spend money differently with blacks to get the black vote out than to get the white vote out?
Yes, and just like you would have to spend money differently to get the male or the female vote out, you will have to do a segmented, targeted campaign effort. If you are in the last week and you have money, you would definitely want to do some radio, make sure you have a good street organization to distribute leaflets, yard signs, and to get the vote out. And you would also want to do some TV. And that means you would also have to couple that with not only the black vote, but also white organizations.
I mean, is like TV better to get white vote out? It has less effect on black vote than this kind of intensive door-to-door stuff?
It depends on the race. In state representative races or in races that have small districts, with TV you may miss the point. You really have to have a good organization, some radio, and really just troops on the street. But for citywide elections or district races where you have a large number of voters in a large area to cover, TV, radio, print, coupled with a good street effort and a phone bank effort can make a very big difference on election day.
Is black turnout in Louisiana larger than in other states, do you think?
Well, political turnouts here are pretty much large than everywhere. Governors and mayors are elected in other states with a 20% voter turnout. In this state, we usually get 60 to 70%. And that's one reason is due to the fact we have elections on Saturdays. And our political clients get the most media coverage because they're very visible.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just ask one more thing, then I'll let you give us a tour.
Okay.
Does this cost a lot of money to keep this thing going?
Definitely. If you're going to run an effective research, marketing, and just a political organization, it is expensive. Not just equipment, but in personnel. And just to gear up for that effort is quite expensive. But if it is planned right and organized very good, you usually get good results.
Okay, so basically, when Edward signs up as a client, he has to fork over a fairly large.
Anyone. It depends on the client and what the race is and what their particular needs may be at that time. But anyone would have to give up their pro rata share of further endorsement.
Give us a little
okay,
tour.
did he show? What did he?
Yeah, we had some audio problems. So, yeah, there's what's his name, Keith in there?
Okay.
Yeah.
I just called the law.
So I'm trying to put some banners on the van right now.
Okay, Lloyd is the accountant. He handles everything financially for the organizations. And Lord, you can take it from there.
Hi.
She does
I like your
everything.
glasses.
Johnson.
I'm calling what can go on.
We should go inside and you explain
What he's doing.
Explain what I'm doing.
Yes. Keith is keeping track of turnout projections for the day, and by keeping track of the turnouts, we are able to identify areas where in the past, where there were good support for Sherman or any of the other candidates, we can pretty much predict an outcome just by keeping track of the turnouts. And Keith has very vast knowledge in that area.
So if he's getting reports hourly or something, can you explain?
Okay, primarily I receive reports every even hour, 8, 10, 12, 2, 4, and 6. That number is measured against the registered voters in that precinct, and I can tell by history primarily what that precinct will or will not do in terms of hourly counts, as well as the attitudes towards candidates by using information provided by the phone bank and by polls to get an idea of what that particular area will do. And that way we can get the vote out for the candidates of our choices. Primarily, we will work those precincts that we feel we have the best shot of winning. In this particular case, we feel we have the best shot of doing extremely well in about 175 precincts.
So you find out basically how many people haven't voted, and then you can turn it over to the...
Right, I can see those areas that are not keeping pace. For instance, some precincts traditionally vote very, very late. Some vote real early. By my knowledge of what has happened in the past, I can say, well, don't panic right now because they traditionally vote rather late, and some of them vote real early. So I know basically who votes early, who votes late, and I would call attention to those precincts who are off their mark for a certain extent. The precinct that usually votes early, the numbers are coming in real low, and so we need to go out to increase that vote in that particular area.
Okay. Great, thanks.
This is the phone bank where we have approximately 25 phones, and we do a constant bank of calls all day and all up until 8 o'clock. And coupled with the phone bank, we also have the automatic dialers making phone calls just to remind people to get out and vote. And when you vote, vote for Representative Sherman Copeland, Governor Edwards, and the entire ballot. You got this. These are the automatic dialers.
What do they do?
They're programmed to dial at least 100,000. They can make 100,000 calls within a week, and they're already programmed to call particular areas, and they're taped messages from the governor, from the representative, from various candidates that we endorse, asking the voters to vote for them on this day.
Can we hear a call going out? Is it your
right now?
Volume control on that?
Sure. Let me get.